Good morning. I'm very pleased to be here, even if I must say that it's very, very busy and very, very exciting times now in Ottawa. And exciting times in Ottawa don't always fit in the same sentence, but it's the case now. Just as an anecdote, I just got this morning a picture, a beautiful picture, where my chief of staff downstairs in the Ajagemo gallery, because we have a new building in Ottawa, and at the first level is a gallery called Ajagemo, which means crossroads. And so I got this morning this beautiful picture with my chief of staff and Justin Trudeau, who was there yesterday at 5:30, reminding us that he made big commitments for the Canada Council. So that's all very positive. So I would like to start by thank Jordan for your remarks. I can't think of a better way to start this summit than to recognize the spirit of creativity and the resilience of the people of this land, and to draw on it, on your work throughout the next 2 days. I also like to recognize the host city, Kelowna. We have the mayor with us, what a privilege. A community that has done tremendous work to reinvent itself over the past 20 years. Kelowna has made a priority to build a stronger and concentrated presence of public art, cultural facilities, and practicing artists. Its cultural plan, its enthusiastic involvement in Culture Days, and obviously I know a lot about Culture Days because Culture Days, in a sense, is a spin-off of Les Journées de la Culture that I had the huge privilege to be one of the founders 20 years ago with my wife, the one who became my wife. So it's a movement that I really believe in, and I know how Kelowna embraced it in a creative way. Last week, as I just mentioned, Canadians elected a Liberal government with a platform that includes a substantial commitment to the arts, notably an historical increase in funding of the Canada Council. I think we should all see this as a meaningful statement on the benefits of the arts to Canadian society and to build on this momentum. To this effect, I applaud the work done during the federal election campaign by Kelowna to make the arts a topic of an all-candidates debate. We can all learn from Kelowna's example. We can all find ways to bring the arts to agenda across all sectors of society, political, economic, education, and health. And the best place to start is our hometowns. This is the theme I'll return to again throughout my remarks this morning. Cultivating Culture. It's an honor to speak to you on this first day of the Cultivate Culture Summit. As the Director and CEO of the Canada Council for the Arts, I will try to bring a national and international lens to the summit conversation, one that is grounded in deep experience and appreciation for the city as a cultural ecosystem. I know from personal experience that the success of an event like this has to be measured by its practical results. Many of you may know that my hometown is Montreal, and that I've worked for most of my career to elevate the creative capital of that city, notably as the chair of Culture Montreal. I learned firsthand the value of sharing ideas and knowledge with others moving in a common direction. This network, this event, can inspire and galvanize a whole range of actors in civil society for sure. It can build potential allies amongst elected officials and the public service. For us at the Canada Council, this type of exchange and cross-pollination of ideas is vital to our work at the national level. All of us here have a unique and complementary roles to play as we build together a vibrant cultural presence, one that can be felt across the country and on the world stage. The theme of this summit, Cultivating Culture, recognizes that healthy culture starts at the grassroots. Coincidentally, the metaphor of the community's role in cultivating culture comes through in a book I read and really loved last summer, a book by Astra Taylor. It's called, and I recommend that book, The People's Platform, Taking Back Power and Culture in the Digital Age. Astra writes about the abundance of cultural offerings from around the world made available by technology, but she warns that these offerings are only as good as the soil that cultivates them. She points out that even the most virtual electronic work is produced by people who create in a social context. And I quote her. She wrote, "We are toiling shared soil in the hopes that our labor bears fruit. It is up to all of us whether the soil is enriched or depleted, whether it nurtures diverse and vital produce or allows predictable crops to take root and run rampant." This is a powerful metaphor for the value of your work. It means that in a global society where geographical, so difficult to say in English, geographic, borders are blurred, our physical communities are more important than ever. So how do you, as cultural planners and arts administrators, see your role in cultivating culture in your hometown? Development, sustainability, quality of life, citizen engagement, cultural rights. These are all global issues that manifest themselves at every level and scale of policy and decision-making. But the local level is where these issues move from policy to practice, in the way cities plan, deliver housing, social services, public health, and transportation. What is particularly exciting to me is that there seems to be a growing recognition that the arts need to be part of these big plans. You are familiar with Charles Landry, who, of course, crafted the concept of the creative city. He argues persuasively that the arts and artistic imagination should be embedded in all part of civic urbanity. The way we plan the common spaces where we gather, the way we bring together the diverse culture in our cities, the aesthetics of our buildings, and how they reflect the unique personality of our city, the way we walk through our neighborhoods, the way we foster sustainability in our cities. As Landry says, when all these elements come together, cities can truly become living works of art. Putting the art at the heart of all areas of public policy was also the theme of an international forum I recently attended in Bilbao, Spain. It was the first summit of the United Cities and Local Government, huge international network working to implement what we call the Agenda 21 for Culture. 21 is for the 21st century, and it's the equivalent of the Agenda 21 for environment, but for culture. Local delegates came from all over the world to meet and discuss, to demonstrate how culture can be a driver for change and sustainable development within a city. It called on the idea that the city is an ongoing project to build citizenry and democracy. Of course, it's easy to see how many of these great cities represented at the Bilbao Summit could point out to this idea in their past and present. But Canadian cities and towns can and should also claim this ambitious role. You, all represents cities that are complex, ever-changing cultural ecosystems made of public and private stakeholders, institutions, spaces, activities, visitors, citizens, and of course, artists. Artists are the urban cartographers who map out the narrative of our cities. They tell the stories that describe who we are as communities and ultimately who we are as Canadians. We need them. This type of discussion about the city and the role of art and culture recognizes many benefits that the arts bring to our everyday lives and the places where we live and work. And I won't go through that long list, but we all know that a rich and diverse cultural context encourages and optimizes creativity, innovation, problem-solving skills, collaboration, well-being, and livable communities. But all of us in this room also know that we still have huge challenges in representing and measuring these intangible impacts of the arts. We need to find new ways to name, articulate, document, and bring attention to the attributes of the arts. We need to make the case to a whole range of stakeholders that the arts can resolve the global issues of the times, and we need to start in our own backyards. Because when we talk about global issues, we are really talking about the issues that affect us in our day-to-day lives in the places where we work and live. Waves of globalizations and new technologies that promise to bring us together are, at the same time, stripping us a sense of belonging. In an era of virtual identities, we remain shaped by the people and places where we actually live. In our ever-shrinking world, expression and identity are as important as ever. It's not an either-or situation. A rich physical community provides the roots for our virtual ones. To that point, I want to quote again Astra Taylor because she expresses it so well. She wrote, "Our virtual and physical lives are intertwined, inseparable, equally real. Whether their work is distributed by paper or pixels, creators never emerge fully informed from the header. Individuals are buttressed by an array of plinths and braces. These include family and friends, patrons and publics, and institutions that include universities, foundations, community centers, publishers, distributors, libraries, bookstores, rock venues, and cinemas, as well as the ad hoc networks that comprise scenes and subcultures, digital and analog," end of quote. So, it's vital that we make sure that these plinths and braces, these peoples, institutions, and networks are strong. How do we do this? How can we nurture a healthy ecosystem for the arts and a better world for all of us? These are questions we contemplate more and more and richly discuss and debate at the Canada Council. We've been asking ourselves, how can we, as a national funder, create the optimal conditions for artistic creativity to thrive? And creativity defined in a very broad sense. How can we help creativity to thrive locally for the benefit of all Canadians? And how can we support Canada to become a leader in this regard on the world stage? The overarching question I want us all to think about today is, how can we work together to raise awareness of the value of the arts, to bring the arts to the table wherever decisions about human development are taking place? And are we inviting others to our table when we talk about the arts? So yes, these are big questions, but I think we can all bring our perspective and experience to responding to these questions, both at this summit and in the weeks, months, and years to come. I want to take a moment to dive a bit deeper into the effects of technology and globalization. In our global society, borders have become blurred, as I said. Large-scale movements are felt locally. The impact of the Syrian war and mass movements of refugees is felt in cities throughout Europe and probably will be felt throughout the world. Climate change is affecting the way of life in the smallest, most isolated northern communities. The shift in Western society, and you know that in Kelowna, I heard, towards aging populations impacts the housing, public health, and social services we offer in our cities. Think of the global recession of recent years and its impact here at home. But perhaps the greater driver of globalization, the one whose impacts we feel most closely and forcefully here, is digital technology. It has brought the world to our fingertip in ways that we all experience in our everyday lives. It has created new spaces for sharing and co-creating. It has changed the way we relate to each other and the way we form our private and public identities. It has amplified our individual voice, but in some ways has made it less direct. It gives us a world of knowledge, but can also deluge us with meaningless information and content. Just think, 10 years ago, social media was non-existent for most of us. iPhone was still a rumor. Now, networked and mobile technology have blurred the lines between personal and professional. These waves of globalization and technology are having a deep impact on the arts. Artists and audiences have a myriad of platforms on which to create and consume and engage with art. Young people and new Canadians are engaging with art less and less in traditional ways. Audiences which had become increasingly passive over the period from Shakespeare era to the 21st century now once again expect collaboration and participation. They create, share photos and videos more than ever before. They curate online galleries and playlists. They express their opinions and impressions on social media as a way to define their own presence in the world. New business models are also emerging rapidly. Many young artists find their work doesn't fit the parameters offered by traditional arts founders like the Canada Council. They are looking for new ways to finance their work. Crowdfunding is an example. Our publishing and music industries have been turned upside down with the ever-growing influence of profitable online distributors and vendors like Amazon and iTunes. These changes pose a world of possibilities and a world of challenges. The digital age invites us all to be content providers, to create work, share it, and comment on it. But these new structures, like the previous ones, value celebrity over the obscure, homogeneity over diversity, easily consumable ideas over the challenging ones. There continues to be a risk of corporate conglomeration. We once worried about a few companies controlling all the new medias and drawing out our diverse voices. Now that threat persists in the internet age with a few mega companies controlling social media, our content, and our personal information. It is an era where Google, Facebook, and Twitter profit widely from both the content created and provided for free by others and the data profile of these contributors. Popular content most liked, most shared, most favored by murky algorithms rises to the top. The digital age offers a platform for creation, but where is the structure to develop and support emerging talent? Where's the financial reward for creators? How can we ensure that our digital culture empowers us and authentically represents who we are and who we want to be as a society? Mastering and turning these digital tools to our advantage is crucial to our cultural democracy and empowerment in the internet age. Wow. I think that's Google. And I believe we can nurture the creativity, innovation of our artists to lead in this challenge. One recent example that comes to mind is a cultural hackathon that was held in Quebec City and Montreal as part of Journée de la Culture, Culture Days in Quebec. For this, teams of people involved in IT, culture, and the general public got together for 3 days marathon to find ways to make culture more accessible to more people through digital technology. In a sense, how can we short-circuit the algorithms that are providing most of the cultural content we get? Online data, tools like Instagram, YouTube, Google Maps, prototypes for apps, these were all mined for ways to reappropriate culture. So given all these monumental and daunting changes brought about the globalization and technology, what can we do as cultural funders, planners, and arts administrators to enrich the cultural context? I can tell you that at the Canada Council, we've been asking ourselves what our role as a national funder is in that regard. How do we, in a perpetually evolving environment, support traditional and new form of artistic production and reach Canadians? And beyond that, how do we cultivate the true potential of the arts to make a better world? For us at the Council, the answer to this question was nothing less than a major transformation of our organization and the way we fund and promote the arts. So let me tell you a bit more about our story of transformation, a transformation which has been considered by some time and is now, I'm proud to say, well underway. When the Canada Council was created in 1957, the cultural offerings of this country were meager. Now there's abundance. Now there's the diversity, with artists and audiences shaped by a vast range of cultural influences. Given this, the Council's focus needs to shift from increasing the supply of art produced to ensuring our artists can thrive, increasing access to a diversity of voices, raising awareness of the arts as the driving force they can be. Accountability is a word we hear often in Ottawa, and it has, as a public-funded federal agency, the Council must be rigorous in reporting results, output, and outcomes. But this is something that we've always taken seriously at the Council. For us, accountability is not an expectation from government, it is our expectation of ourselves. It's ensuring we are relevant to artists and to all Canadians. To achieve this, we needed to put in place a new framework to measure our progress against this goal, so that we can see clearly where we are succeeding and where we need to target more efforts. At the same time, after close 60 years of existence, we have taken a good, hard look at all that we have achieved and where we need to adapt. Over a series of formal and informal consultations with arts community and other stakeholders, we have learned many things. We have learned just how extensively and rapidly arts practices and disciplines are changing. We have learned that Aboriginal arts must be better supported, and not just with a heightened awareness of the issues around reconciliation. We must be conscious, in a way we weren't 60 years ago, of the deliberate attempts throughout our nation's history to eradicate the culture and language of First Nations, Métis, and Inuit peoples. Deaf and disability arts also deserve more and more targeted support. New organizational models have emerged and are about to emerge. Artists are asking for more support to adapt and adopt new technologies. They are looking for more access to valuable international markets. Young artists and culturally diverse artists need to feel more welcome in our process. We also heard from artists and arts organizations that they want to explore deeper and more meaningful ways of engaging with the public, both to enrich their practice and to respond to their audience's demand for more interactive, participatory arts experience. For us at the Council, all this feedback pointed to the opportunity to transform our organization, to become more flexible and better able to deliver impact and to demonstrate that impact. It's an opportunity to adapt in a way that maintains our proud reputation as a relevant and vibrant organization in the future. We realize that the expectations of us are high. They are even higher since 2 weeks, I can tell you that. We wanted to transform in a way that would make us flexible and able to scale up our impact to make the most of funding opportunities whenever they arise. As you know, the most powerful lever a funding organization has to effect change, it is our funding programs. And that's where our transformation begins with the new funding model. I want to give you the overview of our new funding model. And on December 4, I guess, it will be on the web, all the details on the 6 new programs, but I will give you some kind of an idea of where we are here. But I want to preface it by saying that this transformation is being planned and carried out in the context of the same budget and the same level of investment in the arts. When I came to the Council a year and a half ago, I said to my new staff, when I came as the CEO, because I was there on the board for 10 years, so I had a good idea of what the organization can do. I said to the staff, my first day at work, said, when you consider it, it never happened that on a 10-year period that the Canada Council did not get a significant raise. There were different moments like that, but every 10 years, we had a significant raise. The last 10 years, it was 25 million, and the last time was 30 million. And I was there the 2 times, and I was also there when we were dealing and negotiating with the government for the doubling of the Canada Council, which was a Liberal promise before they were defeated 10 years ago. So I said, I guess it's very urgent for us to reinvent ourselves in order to deliver more impact, more public value, and eventually more money. I did not know a year and a half ago that we would contemplate the doubling of our budget within 24 months, but I knew that something would happen anyway, and we needed to be prepared for it in a way that would make a difference. I think that where we are now is that we're not only contemplating a decade. I think that now we're contemplating and we have the chance to make a difference for a generation. This is where we are exactly at this point. This transformation has always been planned in a spirit of anticipation. It has always been driven by an ambition to deliver more impact, more value, more financial support to artists and organizations. I realized, and people know that, when I first took on the role of director and CEO, I mentioned that in my first interview with the Globe and Mail, I realized that it would be futile to simply ask for a little more money to keep doing the same old thing. Canadian artists and the public alike deserve more. We needed to anticipate new possibilities. And in doing so, we needed to create a funding model that would be solid, agile, and flexible enough to embrace these possibilities as they arise. And so I'm confident that our new funding model makes us prepared for a bigger public investment in the arts. We are, wow, that's a real light show. We are ready to scale up our impact. We are poised to invest in creativity and innovation in our communities in a way that benefits our economic, social, and human development. And at this point, increases to our budget can only make the intentions of our new funding model more tangible, more concrete, and more sustainable. The basis of the new funding model is fewer and clearer programs that are outcome-driven. The major change is a significant reduction in the number of granting programs from 147, and actually we're still counting, I still discover small programs, but 147 programs to 6. These 6 programs will cover all regions and all fields of professional arts practices. They will address the major issues specific to both existing arts discipline and emerging arts forms, while adhering to the Council fundamentals, values, and commitments. To be clear, the new funding model was never intended to be an exercise in shifting money. It's about clarifying expectations and demonstrating results. It's about shifting our attention away from prescribing the way the art should be made and shifting it towards enabling the artists and the arts organizations to conduct their own quest for excellence and maximize impact on society on their own terms. It's not about making applicants squeeze themselves into constraints of our programs. Rather, it's about us adapting our programs to their realities, skills, potentials, and ambitions. And as an organization, the Council doesn't want to fund innovation. We doesn't want just to fund innovation. We want to walk the talk. I recently read an article that advised, before you think innovation, think simplification. And I agree. It's easier to be nimble and creatively adapt to change when you eliminate the many layers of complicated rules and procedures inherited from a long institutional history such as the Council has. We want to be innovative ourselves in our organizational structures and in our processes. We want to lighten up the bureaucratic work so that we can focus more on understanding and advising the arts community. I don't want to go into the details of the 6 programs this morning, but I will say they reflect our commitment to the freedom of creativity and innovation. There's a commitment to national outreach so that the Canadians have access to the best in the arts whenever they live. This is targeted support for international outreach to expand Canada's cultural influence, allow artists to benefit from valuable new market, and position Canada as a leader on the world stage. And with the new funding, federal government's commitment to reinvest $25 million in international market access, the Council will remain a key player in this area. I can touch on 2 of the programs that might be the most interesting and relevant for you, as they are very much rooted in community. One program called Engage and Sustain will fund arts organizations that choose to have a strong, tangible link in a local community or region. I'm sure you can each think of such organizations in your hometown. Some of you may hear today representing arts organizations. They are the front lines connecting the public to artists. They are the community hubs. They reflect the diversity of their community. They are what makes citizens proud of their hometown. This new grant program will support organizations to strengthen these bonds, to bring even more value to their communities. And the expectations will be very clear and will be adapted to the scale of those organizations, because you cannot expect exactly the same thing from a Stratford Festival or a small organization of 3 people, but being very present on a continuous basis in their community. Another program I'm very proud of is called Creating, Knowing, and Sharing Aboriginal Arts. This is a pivotal time in history when the relationship between Aboriginal peoples of this land and the Canadian state has been called the defining issues of our times, one that the Truth and Reconciliation Commission has brought to the forefront more recently. It's a time when it's recognized that Indigenous arts hold tremendous potential to change the tide in relation between non-Aboriginal and Aboriginal peoples for a common future. Aboriginal artists will, of course, be eligible to our other program. However, for the first time in Canadian history, this dedicated program will take a unique, self-determined approach. This means it will be guided by Aboriginal artists' values and worldview, administered by staff of Aboriginal heritage, assessed by Aboriginal arts professionals, and its impact reported in an Aboriginal cultural and artistic context. This is a program that can have a great impact at the community level, especially in Aboriginal communities where the healing power of the arts and cultural identity is well documented. This program can both inform and be informed by national and global movement for Indigenous rights. Aside from the changes within our funding model, there are other transformative waves running throughout all of the Council's activities. These waves speak to our vision to see the arts take on a bigger role in society. They reinforce our goal to empower artists and citizens. One of these waves is equity. In recent years, we've made targeted investment in culturally diverse communities and in the deaf and disability arts communities. What's more, we've woven these values of equity into the fabric of our organization through internal practices, program delivery, and knowledge sharing. Why is equity integral to our transformation? It's because the arts and culture are essential component of any journey to empower people and for communities to reinvent themselves. Cultural expression and participations are keys to countering discrimination and alienation. They open doors to diverse practices. They encourage innovation. They amplify voices that may not otherwise be heard. Voices we need to hear for the arts to truly reflect the range of excellence and effect societal change. And this is why I feel so strongly about another transformative wave at the Council, public engagement in the arts. Public engagement in the arts is much more than increasing ticket sales and creating a market for the arts. It's about making the arts parts of everyday lives of all Canadians, whatever their origin, ability, or level of participation. I referenced it earlier when speaking about accountability. This is integral to the Council's mandate as a public funder of the arts. It is what reinforces democratic legitimacy of our work. The Council has always funded activities and projects to promote public engagement. Many of the organizations in our country, have done exciting and innovative work in this regard, but for the Council, that's no longer enough. We need to embrace it ourselves as an organization. And at the core of our transformation, we have this notion of embracing the public considerations and responsibility that comes with our public funds. For me, it comes down to embracing the values of cultural democracy. This means authentic participation, real exchange, deep and significant engagement with the arts. Every citizen must have the opportunity to see, hear, experience, participate in the expression of cultures that define them. Public engagement is something that takes place in the spaces where we live and work, our communities. But at the end of the day, it is a global concern. When our citizens are actively engaged in cultural life, they are likely to be engaged in all aspects of civic life. A deep level of engagement grows Canada's cultural influence on the world stage, its soft power in a global context. I hope it's obvious from my remarks that the Canada Council's transformation is not just about change for the sake of change. It's about aspirations, ideas, and vision. And it is anchored in the conviction that with these aspirations, ideas, and visions firmly in place, we are in a better position to give meaningful financial support to the artists and arts organizations of this country. We can better make the case to the people and the government of Canada for greater responsibilities in delivering public services that reflect our values. I want to take the time to share the vision that supports our transformation. I wanted to take that time with you because as National Arts Funder, our work complements the support given at the provincial and the municipal levels. We invest in creativity in your communities, the artists and organizations that access our funding, and the citizens who benefit from their work. I also offer our experience as an example of the need to be proactive. By changing now, we are the masters of our reorganization, of our reinvention. Contrast this position of strength with the experience of many of our colleagues internationally. In recent years, several fellow arts councils worldwide were forced to change due to financial and political pressures. They did not have the luxury of reflective change. In many cases, they were severely marginalized, drastically cut, and downgraded. The lesson is we all need to be proactive. Our transformation at the Council has also given us the opportunity to talk about arts funding in a way that is positive, visionary, and future-oriented for the benefit of all. What's more, it provides a way to talk about innovation and renewal in your cities in a way that is positive, visionary, and future-oriented. This only can strengthen our case for stable and enhanced funding. It gives us more credibility to make ourselves, the arts, part of the key conversations on the future of our society. And this brings me back to the point I made at the beginning of my presentation and the point I want to leave you with as you begin your work here at this summit. Be proud of the important work you're all doing and challenge yourselves to continue to be innovative, creative, and proactive. The soil you are cultivating nurtures your local ecosystem and can have a global impact. There is some discussion in academic circles about the way we describe local and global. In our everyday discourse, we don't talk about these concepts in terms of geography and distance. Instead, as sociologist Jean-Sébastien Guy argues, when we talk about globalization, we are actually describing ourselves as a society. We talk about concerns, problems, or trends as being global as a way of signaling that they are worthy of being addressed. This concept resonates with me because it acknowledges that globalization is not just some external force impacting us, it's something that comprises our everyday realities. It gives us the opportunity to make the case that the impact of our local actions can be scaled up globally. It helps us to build the case for having the arts considered at the heart of our development, for inviting the arts to the tables where the big decisions of the day are being made. Let's find innovative ways to make it happen. Let's invite ourselves to those tables. This was the argument made at a symposium hosted this spring by the arts advocate. Matthew Taylor, Chief Executive of the United Kingdom's Royal Society, was a speaker at the event. He urged the cultural sector to move away from always articulating the ask for more funding to articulating the benefits. He said, and I quote, "The arts, heritage, and creative industries have many attributes that other sectors seek: innovation, collaboration, public engagement, all challenges in other areas." Let's find ways to better understand and articulate these attributes. Let's invite ourselves at the table where global issues, community issues are being discussed. International movements like sustainability, citizen engagement, cultural democracy, their success depends on the work done in your hometown, your cultural ecosystem. The artists in your community, again, are the urban cartographers telling the story of your own time. Give them the opportunities, flexibilities, and support to tell this story in a way that truly reflects the experience of your community and our larger society. Consider the business owners, entrepreneurs, educators, mentors, and connectors who can also play a role in telling this story. Let's make the innovative offer of the arts known. Let's bring the arts to life. And in doing so, we'll be doing nothing less than improving the life of our communities in our country and in our world. Thank you.